Joining us now is Tim Murtaugh, the Director of Communications for the 2020 Trump campaign. So, Tim, Joe Biden is kind of using the coronavirus type of thing to kind of paint himself as more of a leader than President Trump during these times. Of course, this comes as he's been behind a little bit of a media hiatus, but recently he said that he wishes that President Trump would, quote, listen more to the scientists and think less about the political consequences. He says he's a wartime president. He should act like a wartime president. What's your response to those comments?
Well, that's a joke. First of all, the only thing that Joe Biden knows about combating a public health crisis is that when he was the vice president, the Obama White House had to actually apologize for him because he made some remarks during the swine flu outbreak in 2009, and the White House was afraid that he had caused some undue panic. So they had to say they were very sorry for what Joe Biden had said. But the president, in fact, all you have to do is listen to his interactions with Dr. Birx and Dr. Fauci. President Trump is, in fact, taking the guidance of the medical and scientific experts, and that's exactly why he decided to extend the social distancing guidelines through the end of April. And Dr. Fauci has praised the president's decisions all along the way, beginning with the decision to limit travel from China at the very beginning of this, way back in January. Dr. Fauci says the United States, because of that, acted very, very early. Those are his words. So President Trump is out front leading on this. The American people can see it every day with these daily briefings that are being carried on television for now, that is. And Joe Biden is irrelevant. He is searching for a role for himself, and there is none. And so he's just lobbing ineffective partisan grenades from the sidelines. And in fact, it's not helpful.
No, and you bring up those press briefings, too. If you were to watch those, you would hear Dr. Anthony Fauci, Dr. Deborah Birx saying that the president is following the public health community's kind of guidance on these issues. But the problem is that a lot of people may not be seeing those press briefings. For example, yesterday, CNN cut out of it at multiple times. And then you hear MSNBC hosts, as well as CNN hosts, Don Lemon, Chris Hayes, Rachel Maddow, saying that they don't think that their networks should be airing these press briefings in the future moving forward, saying that the president may be spreading misinformation. But of course, then when you read newspapers, there's a lot of news coming from these press briefings as well. So what is your response to the calls not to show these press briefings?
Well, I think it's pretty obvious that what's going on here is that President Trump is leading the country into this war against the coronavirus, and Joe Biden and the Democrats and the media incredibly have decided to fill the role of the opposition in that war, which is really an astounding thing for them to decide to do. But luckily, practically no one watches CNN anyway. We think they should carry the president's briefings, but nobody's watching. And we have information, polling from inside the campaign that we just got back yesterday. As a matter of fact, 84% of the people are watching either all or part of the president's briefings. And so they know, the CNN and the media opponents of the president and Joe Biden, they know that the president is being effective. And that's exactly why they don't want those briefings to be carried. The president's approval rating has never been higher, and more than 60% of Americans support what President Trump is doing in combating the virus.
And it's interesting, too, because as we were saying, news does come out of these press briefings, so it's not a journalistic decision on their behalf. They're getting high ratings, so it's not a business decision on their behalf. So if you're a viewer of CNN and they're not showing these press briefings, I think that any logical thinker has to wonder, why aren't we being showed this information? And I let the viewers kind of make up their mind as far as that goes. But I think it speaks to something bigger. It's the idea that there's echo chambers right now in this country. And one example of that, to me, is the Biden campaign, or it's not the campaign, actually, it's a PAC, the Priorities USA PAC, kind of airing this debunked type of story about the president, calling it a hoax. That's something that the Washington Post has already said is not true. It's kind of going down the yard work of just saying that these are things that the president's been pushing off, which have been proven to be not true. In fact, the Trump campaign is issuing a cease and desist letter against that ad. Do you foresee this being an obstacle moving forward? A lot of misinformation coming from the other side.
Well, we have to fight it, and I think we expect that from the other side. But look, this ad that Priorities USA is running and things that the national media has said, this is just proof of what the president actually said. What he actually said was, first they tried to get rid of me through the Russia hoax, and then they went after this Ukraine nonsense and the sham impeachment, and now their criticisms of the federal government response to the coronavirus and the Democrat hysteria and the media hysteria, that's their new hoax, not the virus itself. So the fact that Priorities USA and the media would distort that and completely repackage it and say that he called the virus itself a hoax is proof of what he originally said, that their reaction to what he and the federal government is doing is the hoax. And then by lying about it, it just proves his point. So, I mean, this is a battle that we'll have to keep fighting every single day. And look, if it weren't the coronavirus, it would be something else. You know, we already came through the Russia hoax. We've been through the Ukraine and in the impeachment nonsense. And if it had not been for this virus, they would be launching something else against the president. And he's exactly right. This is just their latest weapon.
No, and to your point, too, I mean, our viewers don't have to take my word for it or your word for it. They can go look it up themselves when the Washington Post is saying that that is not what the president said. In fact, issuing a correction regarding their fact check. It's just usually a pretty telling sign that that is not what happened. Yet, as to your point, we're seeing the Biden campaign kind of saying that they're going to ignore that as long as they're super PACs as well, saying they're going to run these ads in these states no matter what they say. But, Tim, I really appreciate you coming on, kind of highlighting what we should be looking forward to coming up next regarding this presidential election. Thank you.